Good afternoon. Can you hear us? Because I don't have a voice.
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Loud and
I
clear.
heard you.
Yes, now today. Good.
Hmm.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon,
Welcome.
everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for the invitation. Mohammed Qatani is one of my favorites.
Yes, he is a favorite of all of us.
Thanks for the invite.
Yes. Welcome. It's our pleasure.
Hello, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Have we started the recording as well?
Not yet, but
Yes,
we
you
are
are.
already on YouTube.
Yes, you are.
Toastmaster Gilbert, we can start the recording.
Recording in progress.
Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, and our very own world champion of public speaking, Toastmaster Mohammed Qatani. Assalamu alaikum, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon to each and every one of you. This is another weekly session we are having with you all for you, our members of District 79 and all over the world, where we're going to have the world champion of public speaking coming to District 79. The mission of the district is to build new clubs and help the current clubs in achieving excellence. The chat box will be open for you to post your questions, and I would request you all to kindly keep your chats on silent or the audio on muted so that we could enjoy the wonderful session. To conduct this session, we have an amazing Toastmaster who is part of the Quality Makers Program PQD team, as well as the past area director. May I request Toastmaster Mohammed Umar Farooq Awan to please come forward and take the charge. We also have the Arabic interpretation. For those who want the Arabic interpretation, can go to the Arabic interpretation with Toastmaster DTM Otuba Suleiman. Toastmaster Gilbert, we can start the Arabic interpretation. Meanwhile, we are also currently live on the YouTube as well as the District 79 website, and the meeting is being recorded as well. So with this, I hand over the credit of the lectern back to our very own Toastmaster Umar Farooq Awan.
Thank you, our royalty, the program quality director, District 79 for program year 2026-27. My same name, Omar Farooq Malik, and I am Awan, and great to be hosting this session once again. Last time we had International President Deepak Menon coming to our series, and now we have World Champion. This is an initiative that District 79 has taken, and District 79 is comprised of over Tamam, Jubail, Riyadh, Central, and all these provinces together in Saudi Arabia. So this initiative is a unique of a kind. Every month we'll be hosting a past international president and a world champion of public speaking as well. We will be learning from them leadership lessons, their experiences, their wisdoms, and about public speaking, how to build our successful winning speeches, communication, body language, all things. And we will have an extended question and answer session where audience can ask a lot of questions, whatever questions they have, their queries, any doubts, they can. During this session, I would encourage everyone to participate. If you have any question, directly post in the chat to me. I will be asking those questions. When you ask that question, just mention which club you are from and from which district, which part of the world also. So with this, I'd like to start. We are, as I will mention again, this is a live stream to the YouTube as well, and it is on the District 79 website as well. So rest assured. So today it's one of the most amazing days. You know, we have with us our Saudi Arabia's the crowning moment. He is one of the inspiration for many Toastmasters in Saudi Arabia to be there. So there's a inspiration for each and every one of us, for motivation for us, each and everyone. He is the 2015 world champion of public speaking. But a lot of people don't know he is an Aramco's engineer as well. He used to have a stammering problem in his young days, but he challenged himself. He pushed that envelope. He came to the stage again and again to conquer that thing. And he travels now around the world inspiring people, giving workshops, trainings on building teams, building how to negotiate, how to use your power of words, how to develop your communication skills, all those things. One day at a time, one word at a time, a person of inspiration for each and everyone from around the world. So with this, I'd like to welcome our keynote or workshop presenter, distinguished Toastmaster Mohammed Qatani, on the topic, the power of humor in public speaking. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Everybody, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Today, we're going to be talking about the power of humor in public speaking. We're not going to talk about how to write a humorous speech, but things to do and not to do when you are thinking about humor. Starting with the importance of humor. Now, always when you are in front of an audience, they will always expect, or they will always enjoy two things out of you: a story or making them laugh. And no matter what your topic is, if you can inject a story or inject humor, that's the easiest way that you can get the attention of the audience. However, sometimes some people, they cross the line between using humor in their speeches and turning it into a circus show or becoming a clown. And I've seen that done so many times, where people, they just put so much humor that the entire message of the speech is actually gone. And this is the first rule of using humor: don't force it, meaning it has to be relevant to the topic that you're going to be speaking about. And it's like salt: if you add too much of it, you're going to ruin the entire thing. So it has to be relevant. You shouldn't just force a humor or just leave the main topic of your speech just so you can hit a joke and then come back. You shouldn't do that. Just use humor just to enhance your speech or just to get the attention of the audience. If you're doing a serious speech, or for example, an international speech, I tend to use this rule of thumb, which is at least one joke or two jokes every 1 minute. So if you do 2 jokes a minute, it's enough for you to get the attention of the audience and not turn your entire speech into being a clown, because your audience can actually see it. They can see whether that you're using the humor effectively or you're just trying to get a cheap laugh. So this is rule number 1. Rule number 2: know who you're speaking to. Knowing your audience makes you choose your humor wisely. And what I mean by that is, don't use humor that targets a specific group of people, a specific race, a specific sex, or a specific religion. Even if the joke was funny, you run the risk of offending somebody in the audience. And let me give you a really good example that I've seen in every humorous speech contest that I've been to. There always has to be a speaker who either trash talk their wives or a woman trash talking their husband. And I've seen it in every humorous speech contest. You think you're going to be funny by making fun of the opposite sex and how they react or how they do. And again, the joke might actually be funny, but again, you're offending half of your audience. The other half might laugh, but then after a while, they start sensing, okay, these jokes are hitting a bit too hard. So how can you tell a joke and not offend anybody? The easiest thing that you can do is self-deprecation. Make fun of yourself. Be the butt of the joke yourself. And I always tell people, if you really want to do a really amazing humorous speech, find the one thing that you hate about yourself. Maybe you hate the fact that you're overweight, or maybe you hate the fact that, I don't know, like you're not really handsome, or maybe you hate the fact that you don't have so much money or so. And you can write a humorous speech. If you want to do a humorous speech, you can write a humorous speech about that. And to give you a really good example of that, and I think the speech was still on YouTube, one of the humorous champions of District 79 years ago, his name is Qatani, and he did an amazing speech. I don't know, for those of you who've been there long enough. He did one of the most amazing humorous speeches I've ever heard, where he made fun of the fact that he's overweight. And the fact that he's making fun of himself is actually easier for you to tell the joke, and people will actually appreciate it because you're not offending anybody. Like I said earlier, make it relevant and don't force the joke. Now, when it's time just giving the jokes themselves, few things that you should keep in mind. First of all, always have in mind that at any time, at least half of your jokes are not going to work. You might find it funny yourself. Then when you go on stage and tell it, nobody gets it. Nobody laughs. And have you seen a speaker when they tell a joke, nobody laughs, and then they freeze? They're like, and it's like they're waiting too long for the laughter to come. When you put in mind that half of your jokes are not going to work, as soon as you tell a joke and nobody laughs, you got to skip it and forget about it and move to the next line immediately. Also, the opposite. Sometimes people might find something funny that you didn't even think it's funny, like yourself. This actually happened to me myself when I was giving my speech, The Power of Words, and I was doing this scene with the scientists. And every time I rehearsed that speech with my mentors, the scene was a bit, okay, it get a little bit of a laugh, but not much. But when I gave it that day, people kept on laughing and they started clapping. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I didn't expect that kind of reaction. But you have to be prepared that sometimes you might say something that you might not think it's funny yourself, but it's going to get a reaction from the audience. And when that happens, you cannot start speaking until the laughter dies down. Another thing that you should keep in mind is do not ever be the first person to laugh at your own jokes. Have you seen a person who tell a joke and then be like, huh? Don't do that. In fact, when you tell a joke with a straight face, it has a much more impact rather than telling it and then smiling right after. Smiling after your own jokes actually lessens the impact of the jokes itself. Now, some of you might think, well, I'm not really a funny person. I don't know how to do humor. And I've seen people who actually went on and they asked AI, like they gave it a speech and say, hey, AI, can you find me some jokes that will match this speech? If humor is not your thing, then it's not your thing. If humor is not your thing, don't force it. Like I said earlier, your audience can tell when the joke is forced. Now, we said earlier that humor is one of the most powerful tools to get the attention of the audience and to actually grab the audience. But how do you do if you're not really good with humor? What is the thing that you can do if humor, like you said earlier, not your thing? This is where choosing the right mentor makes a difference. You know, in Toastmasters, oftentimes we choose a mentor based on how old that mentor is or how long the mentor has been in Toastmaster. That's not really how you choose the right mentor. The way to choose the right mentor is finding out what do you need to improve. See, every one of us, when it comes to public speaking, have strengths and have weaknesses. For example, I find humor is my strength, but I'm not really good in writing. Like, I don't write good speeches. In fact, every time I write a speech, it looks like trash, honestly. So what I did is I chose a mentor who I noticed from my club or from the other clubs around, when they speak, they have a really beautiful way of playing with words. They know how to use the words really well. And that's how you choose your mentors. In fact, I've had people who mentor me who had less experience in Toastmasters than I am. I've been in Toastmasters way longer than them, but I still ask them to mentor me because I noticed that they are strong in that field. So this answers the question. If humor is not your strength, then seek someone who you think is really good with humor. Study that person. Shadow that person. When they tell a humor or tell a joke, just see how they come up with it. Let them teach you, or maybe, for example, if you have a script, you say, can you look at my script and see which part could we put humor that's relevant to the speech? Let that person mentor you. Another thing that you can do, which I strongly advise people to do, is watch stand-up comedy online, whether on Netflix or whether on YouTube. Don't watch it for the laughs, no. Watch it to study how did the comedian come up with that joke? Because if we break down humor, it falls down into 8 types of humor. There's exaggeration, there is the rule of 3, there is misdirection, there's pun humor, there's dark humor. So it falls down to like at least 7 or 8 types of humor. Watch these comedians, and when you watch them, just see how they came up with the joke itself. See what is, I mean, like, was it a twist that they did at the end? Was it something that they exaggerated? And then look at your own speech or your own material and say, how can I use that same style into the content that I have? How can I use the same style into the content that I have? The easiest way that you can drive humor is from a story or a person. Now, if you're going to do it on a person, don't do it on a person that people know, because making fun of other people might actually be offensive. You can make, as I said earlier, you can make fun of yourself, or you can make fun, like you can make fun of an imaginary character. This is, I remember there was a speech, a humor speech in one of our division contests a long time ago by the guy's name, Said Al-Hajri. I don't know if he's still in Toastmaster or not. And he was telling a story about a dream he has. Now, he started the story and we didn't know it was a dream. He said, I was walking down the street and then this guy comes up, and then the entire humor was on this guy. He didn't give it a name. We didn't know who the guy is, but he was describing the guy in a way that made everybody laugh. And then at the end, he said, oh, by the way, and then I woke up and it was actually a dream. So the guy did not even exist, but he chose a character that did not have a name. So don't choose a character that people might know. And remember what I said earlier, don't make the humor sounds like you're driving jokes out of somebody else. Or no, I mean like driving jokes out of a group of people, a nationality, or a sex, or make it on a specific person. Or if you want to be safe, have the humor on yourself. Now, the reason why humor is really strong in terms of public speaking is when the audience love you, they would listen to you more. In fact, if you noticed, when like if it comes to the contest, into contest seasons, and we often see people who win a speech contest and they might not even have the best speech, and we always think, oh my God, it's the judges again. The judges didn't do I'm like the judges didn't do a really good job, and so on and so forth. No, it's not. The judges, at the end of the day, they're human, like you and me. Imagine if you're a judge and you're sitting in the hall judging a speech contest, and a guy comes in and he's doing, again, an international speech, but he's putting humor in his speech in the right places. And every joke hits and people laugh, and you're sitting there and you're hearing the laughter all around you. That affects you as a judge too. Be like, wow, I guess everybody loved it. It must be a really good speech. It actually affects your judgment. And I've seen a lot of speakers who use that very effectively to win a speech contest. If you win the audience, you will win the judges too, and you will win everything. But as I said, humor is also a two-faced like swords. If a joke didn't fly, it affects you as a speaker. It might get you nervous. If a joke comes out as offensive, and I've seen a lot of humorous speakers who've done speeches that they should not really have done. Now, how do you know that is this speech good for the audience, or should I actually choose I'm gonna cut the topic. This is where practice happens. Now, we talked earlier about having a mentor, but let's face it, maybe even your mentor does not have a filter, and he might actually is okay with offensive jokes. So this is when you can test your speech on an audience. Use it in your Toastmaster club. And if you're going to use it in your Toastmaster club, just ask your audience this one question. I don't want an evaluation. I just want you to say, did you feel offended or not? And if the majority said, or you've seen like a lot of people said, yeah, this speech was sounding offensive, maybe you don't have to ask what was offensive about it. No, just say, okay, maybe the way that I think about the speech or the way that I wrote it is offensive, even though I don't see it myself. Another thing that you can do is testing your speech on different types of audiences. Because oftentimes when we do humor, our humor could be regional, jokes that only a specific group of people understand, or a specific, culture understands. For example, let's say you are in a club that's mostly Indians, for example, and you tell a joke and they get the jokes. You try it in a different audience, it doesn't work. And that's why it's important to test your jokes or test your humor speech on different types of audiences. Test it on native speakers if you can. Test it on people from different nationalities. And now we're lucky to have online clubs all over the world. And any of you can actually join any of these clubs and say, hey, I have a humorous speech. I want to try it out on you guys. Can I do that? And just get the response of the audience. And last but not least is Just have fun with it. Don't tell the joke just because you feel like I have to be funny in order for my message to come across. Tell the joke with the intention that it really lights up the mood. It makes your audiences happy. This is the one thing that I missed the most in terms of speaking, because when I started my Toastmaster journey, I was only doing humorous speeches. And I love doing humorous speeches because I love watching the smiles on people's, I love watching the smiles on the faces of the audiences. But the problem is, after you win the world championship, people don't want you to give humorous speeches anymore. They want you to give motivations and, all that kind of, boring stuff. And even though I'm blessed to be traveling and speaking all over the world, I try to put as much humor in my speech as possible, but it's not the same as giving a speech where you're making the entire audience laugh from start to just finish. It's a joy to the heart that you are the reasons that people are having a good time. So go on stage with that in mind. Don't tell a joke just because people told me I have to be funny, or I cannot win a speech contest unless I have some jokes in there. Tell it with the intention that maybe I can make somebody smile today, and see how that happens. Thank you so much for listening. I'm sorry for keeping it short, but I would like to open the floor for any questions. And I hope this was informative and educational. And yeah, please, anybody who has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Mohammed Qatani, for such an amazing and wonderful insights on how to inject humor into our speeches. And over the years, I have seen power of humor in World Championship contests. A lot of humor is being used, and it is a very good leverage in order to win the contest as well. So wonderful! Thanks for your nuggets of wisdom for it. We have some questions, dear audience. If you have any questions related to humor and all, you can. Distinguished Toastmaster Umar Malik, we can ask them to unmute and they can ask, or we should have it in chat. What do you suggest?
Again, this is your meeting, whatever you want. If you want them to it or you want to unmute,
Yes.
I think better if we have it on the chat box so that we don't have the repetitions and stuff. So that we maybe in one question we can add 2 questions as well.
I have a question
Sure.
on the. I have a question. How you draft a humorous speech? Please share your tips. Start with an incident. This is the easiest thing that you can do. Start with an incident that happened to you, and tell the incident with exaggeration. So a simple way for exaggeration is, for example, so let's say, for example, you're telling a story about how you were standing in line trying to get coffee. And then you could say, I was standing in line. The line was so long. I'm in the street. The coffee shop was in Jeddah. So, like how exaggeration works. So use exaggeration a lot when you're telling the story. And like I said, make fun of yourself. What is the one thing that you hate the most about yourself? This could be the next topic of your humor speech.
Wonderful. We have another question for DTM Abdul Fateh Anail also. He has two questions actually. You often say that
The big boss, please.
Big boss. Okay. So you often say that every word should have a purpose. In your opinion, should humor always serve the message, or can it sometimes exist simply to build connection with the audience? This is the first question.
Okay, so to answer the first question, one of the things that we talked about earlier, your humor has to be related to the topic you're speaking about. I've seen a lot of speakers who they're speaking about one topic, but then they divert from the topic just for the sake of telling a joke, and then they come back to their topic. This is not going to work. Your audience can feel that the joke is actually forced on the speech. It has to be related to the topic that you're speaking about.
Okay, wonderful. The next question from DTM Abdul Fateh Anail is, if you could give only one piece of advice about using humor to a speaker who will never become a comedian but wants to become unforgettable, which advice would you choose?
When you write your jokes, try it with somebody, whether in your club or area or division, who is known to be a good humor speaker. Like I said earlier, that person could be your coach or like your mentor. Just write a speech and then try your jokes on him or her first. And if they say, yes, the joke is actually funny, then take it. If they told you, I don't think it's funny. Don't take it personally, and don't think of it like, oh my God, I failed as a humor speaker. Like I said earlier, half of your jokes are not going to work. And in every speech that I've done, half of my jokes never worked. They never got a laugh, but you just pass through it. So even if a joke doesn't work, or the person or the coach told you this joke is not funny, just say, okay, fine, I'm going to throw it and try to write something new.
Thank you. You've heard that, DTM Nazir, right? You are my mentor, so be ready.
Okay, wonderful. Next question we have, this is from Shalipa Rajan, District 121. I would like to understand, she said, I want to understand when preparing for a speech contest, how do you decide what to speak about? What process do we use to identify a topic that is authentic and impactful?
All right. I have two rules, or I have two ways of thinking about the topic of any speech. And the first one is this. Have you ever been in a Toastmaster meeting and you're doing table topics, and you go on stage, they ask you the question, you answer the question, and after you go sit down, you're thinking, man, if I had more time, I would have had much better answer. Guess what? Your much better answer could be your next speech, because that question intrigued you so much that you actually wanted to say more about it, which means this is a topic that you can actually write about it freely. Or the second rule is, think of an incident that happened in your life. And again, it shouldn't be something big or something drastic, but it should be an incident that made you rethink anything. I was giving this, like I was asked a long time ago, how did I come up with the opening for the Power of Word speech? And actually, when I was actually writing the speech and I was struggling to come up with a topic, one day me and a colleague of mine were standing outside of my workplace and we're having a smoke. And then this old man passed by and he said, oh, guys, come on. You guys are still young and smoking. I mean, don't do that to yourself, please, whatever. And I was kind of feeling ashamed. I was about to throw the cigarette away. My friend looked at him and said, actually, sir, that's not true. Like, there are no medical studies that proves there's a link between smoking and lung cancer or heart disease or like whatever. And the guy said, yeah, but it's on your pack. It says it causes lung cancer. And the guy leaned in and I said, do you know how much money tobacco company makes? They make billions. Countries around the world had to get together and and stop them. Otherwise, they're going to control the world. This is just all politics. And the guy said, huh, I did not know that. Thank you, son. And he walked away. I looked at my friend. I was shocked too. I said, I didn't know that either. And he said, I just made it up. But the thing is, that incident made me rethink something. Because this guy, just by the way he spoke, he was able to convince someone of something that we all could never be convinced of, but just the way he said it. And that drove me to write the next speech. So the incidents, when I say an incident, a lot of people, they think, oh, I should write a speech about somebody dying or losing my mom or losing my father. No, you don't. Your speech could be about something as simple as standing in line at a coffee shop. One of the most amazing speeches that I've heard in Toastmasters was the 2014 World Championship of Public Speaking. And like, if you look at Dhananjaya's speech, the one that he won, go watch the speech again. There is no big moments in the speech. There is no death. There is no failure. No. It's just simple. He's going to a Toastmaster club, then he's meeting a guy at work, and then he's talking to his wife. Simple things. But it changes the way that we look at things. So think about whatever happened in your life, and it could be something very simple, but something that made you rethink something.
Wonderful. Great lesson. And next we have Toastmaster Asil Said. I believe he is from Kuwait. How do you use imaginary character? She has never done it.
Okay, so Asil, let's say that you want to write a humorous speech about, I don't know, somebody, for example, who eats too much. All right, Asil. Now, think about, let's just imagine a character. This character is a person who eats too much. Most likely, he will have a big just belly, right? So now we can exaggerate. He walked through the restaurant. He looked like Santa, but he's wearing a suit. So now I can picture someone with a very big belly. So what is the incident that you want to speak about? Pick the character, then start picking stuff about the character, maybe the way they look, their stomach, their arms, whatever, and exaggerate that in a humorous way.
Wonderful. It's a very good and creative idea. Wonderful. Next question from Arsalan Muni. What is defined like too much humor? What is good amount of humor in a 10-minute speech? How you have that threshold?
So I wouldn't say there's a line, but when the humor actually diverts from what the main message is. By the way, you can still do it if it's a humorous speech. If it's because the main purpose of a humorous speech is to entertain the audience. Maybe you can add a message at the end. But if you're giving an international speech, for example, or a serious speech, and you want to use humor in it, the more humor that you put in, if it's gonna divert away from what your main message is, and now the humor becomes the main focus of the speech, then you're already failed. The rule of thumb I have is every minute, 2 jokes maximum.
Okay, wonderful. Generally, Jay Latika has a question. When you are doing a speech and practice it a lot of times, she sometimes gets the feeling on the day that I am just delivering a speech. It becomes kind of artificial, and that I am not living the speech. So, any tips to avoid getting in that feeling while delivering the speech?
So 2 things. First of all, you write a script, don't you ever like memorize it. Now you can read it a few times, then throw it away, and then stand up and speak. And every time you speak, try not to stick to the words, but stick to the structure. So you can try it every time with a different wording. Second of all, oftentimes when we speak, people evaluate us or people give us feedback. And I want you to keep in mind that when a person gives you feedback, doesn't really mean that whatever he or she is saying is the right thing. When I give you feedback, it's like I'm saying, if I were you, I would give it this way. But I'm not you. This is your speech, this is your idea. And I've seen people who listen to a lot of feedback and they're doing a lot of changes, and at the end, even the speech itself doesn't feel that like it's theirs anymore. So when they go on stage, they don't really give it with the heart. So when people give you feedback, ask yourself, did it make sense to me? And if it did not make sense to you, then don't do it. And this is a rule I always, like every time when I coach people, I always begin with this rule. I say, whatever I'm gonna say, or like any feedback I'm gonna tell you, if it doesn't make sense to you, please don't use it. I don't care who gives it to you. I don't care if it's the most famous coach in the world or a world champion or whatever. If the feedback didn't make sense to you, don't use it.
Amazing. And next we have from DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster Rajshri Roy. In a humorous speech, is it possible to deliver the message also in a humorous way? If so, how we can do it? Any tips? The central core message.
Okay, I would rather in the conclusion, you have to be serious at least for 1 sentence or 2, which is where the message is. If you remain funny, even when giving the message of the speech, people might think the message is not even serious. This is still one of the jokes. So they're not going to get it. Your message has to, so you can make people laugh and give the jokes and then break for a minute or 2, or like for a sentence or 2, sorry, for a sentence or 2, just to give with a straight face what the message is. Then you can end with humor after that.
Okay, wonderful. How to master improvising in a speech? Rasha Al-Daghafag has
So this actually will, like, it's not something that you can practice, but it's something that will come to you naturally when you're giving a lot of jokes. The more that you give humor, or the more that it actually becomes easier for you, and it actually becomes easier for you to pick up the jokes on the fly. So just because you cannot do it now doesn't mean that you cannot do it like ever. Humor is something that you can learn, and I am an example of that. I am not a funny person, by the way. I am very shy and I'm very boring. And those who knows me very well, they can tell you that. However, humor is also something that you can learn. You can actually learn how to, like, remember what I said earlier, I watch an enormous amount of stand-up comedy. And again, I don't watch it for the laughs. I watch it to learn, to see how they come up with the jokes, and then I do something, kind of similar.
wonderful. And next question is from Ibrahim. Toastmaster, if I have the ability to respond fully to a surprise question, but I don't have a good vocal variety, how to improve that side?
So the vocal variety, when you say I don't have a vocal variety, see, a lot of people they like oftentimes they just make excuses. There is no such thing as I don't have a good vocal variety. I've seen people who say, "Ah, but my voice is so low." Raise it up. What's wrong with that? See, if you already know that your voice is low, then you're already aware that every time you speak, you have to speak with a higher tone than your normal tone. And when you do so, it feels unnatural to you at the beginning. But then with time, you're gonna get used to it. You're gonna get used to the fact that my normal voice is usually low, so I need to speak with a higher tone.
Wonderful. So, from Toastmaster Mariam Al Numair from Discovery Toastmasters, how to use humor in a serious topic, especially if you are not very good in humor.
Yeah. So I am against people opening. Again, unless it's a humorous speech, but now we're talking into like a serious topic. If it's a serious topic, I am against people beginning their speech with a joke. For two reasons. First of all, the environment that you're in might not suit it. And second of all, what if you tell the joke and nobody laughs? Like, remember what I said earlier? Half of your jokes are not going to work. What if the first thing that you say and you expect people to laugh, but they don't? It's going to mess up with your head. Now, remember my rule that I said at the beginning. Every minute, at least one or two jokes every minute. So this is my rule of thumb. You can take your script and see where you can inject this. And when you're doing it in a serious speech, it shouldn't have a setup. So you shouldn't just take or spend much of time to set up the joke. It should come like naturally, like it should be within the context of the thing that you're going to be speaking about.
Wonderful. Next, we have a question from Gavalier, our kid, Gavalier Ayad, 14 years old. How can I make an embarrassing ordinary situation into an entertaining comedy story without making it seem like I am forcing the audience to laugh?
So you can tell an embarrassing story, but keep in mind, make it about yourself so you will not offend anybody else. So choose something that is embarrassing that's happened to you. Remember what I said, when you make fun of yourself, you don't run the risk of, like offending like everybody. Tell the story exactly like it happens. Use some exaggeration if you need to. Paint a picture of the moment that was really embarrassing. But then after all, ask yourself, is the speech appropriate? And this comes when you try it on people. For example, you might tell a story about, I don't know, somebody walks into your room and they see you naked, for example. Now, for you, it might seem okay, embarrassing, but it's something I can speak about. But maybe other cultures or other people might not find it appropriate. This, when trying the speech on different styles of audiences, will tell you whether the speech is worth giving or if it's going to offend people.
Wonderful. The next question is from Sirisan from District 225. Sirisan, he's saying if the joke doesn't land with the audience, how you recover from it? What is your recovery mechanism?
So my recovery mechanism is, before I even start my speech, I already tell myself half of my jokes are not going to work. And when I tell myself that and I tell a joke and there is no laughs, I just go on. I just move to the next one because in my mind I'm thinking, yeah, it's one of the ones that's not going to work. Waiting for the laughter to come, and it's one of the things that I talked about earlier. Don't wait for the laughter to come. A joke might be amazing for you and so funny for you, but then nobody gets it. And this has happened to me numerous times. Tell a joke, nobody laughs, you're already on the next line immediately. When you put in your mind that half of your jokes are not going to work, nothing is going to stop you when you speak.
Yes, we have to condition ourselves to that something can go wrong, so we are mentally prepared for it. So, if for the hand gestures and body language, Toastmaster Nasir has asked to how to practice hand movements and body gestures with your speech.
I am against people who make too much of a gesture on stage, or they make it to the point that it become unnatural. And I always advise people, if you want your hand gestures or body gestures to be natural, ask one of your friends, or maybe your mentor or your coach or one of your Toastmaster friends, to join you for coffee and go to a coffee shop and sit across from that person and say, can I try a speech on you? I'm not asking you to stand up. No, do it while you are sitting down. Because when you're doing it while you're sitting down, you're not going to go all over and do something that's not you. So it becomes like really natural. Deliver the speech while you are seated down and still use your hand gestures, your facial expressions. And that will help you actually have your body gestures feel natural. The more unnatural you are, people can tell and the jokes are not going to fly.
Yes, wonderful. Toastmaster Shahrukh has an interesting question. What's something about humorous speeches that's not in the judging criteria, but judges rate most highly?
I want to bring your attention to the judging ballots. I'm sure a lot of you have been like judges before, right? Or like have done some judging. And if you look at the judging ballot, you will see there are two like sections. There's the section at the top and then the section at the bottom. And the section at the top has, some, structure, grammar, tone of voice, or whatever. And this is 5 points, this is 10 points, whatever. And then the section at the bottom has only first place, second place, and third place. Now, for those of you who've been like judges before, once you fill the thing at the top or whatever, at the end of the day, the thing that you're only going to hand to the chief judge is the slip at the bottom. In fact, all those numbers you put at the top, they're not going to matter. In fact, they tell you to destroy it after the speech is done. And if that tells you a message is all that stuff in the ballot at the top, they just help the judge. If they need help, they just help the judge to kind of decide whether this guy is good or not. But at the end, what matters is first, second, and third. If you're a speaker, don't speak to tick these boxes. I repeat, do not speak to tick these boxes, because what's going to matter at the end is the little slip at the bottom, first, second, and third. In fact, I have seen some speakers who take the stage and their speech, again, is ticking all the boxes. The message is clear, the tone of voice is nice, they're using the stage, the hands gesture and all that kind of stuff, but the speech feels empty. It's empty. And then another speaker comes. Broken English, broken grammar, doesn't move much, but you can tell that that guy or that woman mean what they say. Words are coming from the heart. They really speak with meaning. And in every conference I've been to, the second guy always wins. You cannot write a speech just to check boxes. Write a speech with the intention whether to entertain, if you're gonna do a humorous speech, or to leave a lasting impact to the audience. In fact, the Power of Word speech, the one that I won with, has 11 grammar mistakes. And I still won. What does that tell you? At the end, all the stuff that we learn in Toastmasters, if it's not gonna be with passion, then I'm sorry, you can just throw it all away.
Wonderful. Next, we have distinguished Toastmaster Mufid Mustafa has a question. Speakers mix up speaking humorously with acting on stage. Will you elaborate?
I have a rule of thumb when it comes to speaking. You are on stage and you're done with your speech and you come down and I come see you, shake your hand and say hi. And you're talking to me like a different person than the person that you're on stage. I'm going to say to myself, wait, all of that was an act then? If you're not the same person on stage, people are not going to believe anything you say. Now, body gestures are important. Using your hand movements are important. But if it's not you, and by the way, your audience can tell that this is not you. If it's not you, no matter how good the message is, no matter how good the jokes are, they are not going to land.
Wonderful. Next. How to, there's a person who has asked Naman Anand, please share some tips for humorous table topics. How to inject humor
So this comes down to the impromptu, which is one of the questions that came earlier. How can I use humor when I'm speaking impromptu? And again, don't rush it. It's like it's gonna happen to you. The more that you do humorous speeches and the more you inject jokes in your prepared speeches, you will come to a point where it comes to you naturally, even when you do impromptu speaking, like as well. Some people, they feel bad. They're like, how come I'm not funny? I've seen other speakers who are funny, but I'm not funny. What? Why? Why I'm not funny? It's gonna happen to you. It just takes time. Use it in your prepared speeches first, and then you will find out that picking up humor for you becomes easier with time.
Wonderful. And we have another question from Sharo. Okay. There is on Subashi. She has a message. Is a message necessary for a humorous speech?
I always say yes. Now, there is a difference between humorous speeches and stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is what you see like on TV, for example. Sometimes it has a message, sometimes it does not have a message. It doesn't even have like a structure. But a humorous speech does have a structure. It has an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And if you're gonna have a conclusion, that means there is something that you're gonna give your audience, which is a message, which is like a message at the end. Now, this was one of the questions that was asked earlier. Can I give the message as a joke? No. You can break the laughter and break the funny for a sentence or two that's serious, give the message. You can end with a joke at the end, that's okay, but break the clown face or the funny face with a serious face for one sentence or two sentences, which is the message, and then you can end with the humor. Now, I've seen a question on the chat that I want to answer, which is by Hamza. Sometimes a joke funny, but I can't do it correctly. I want some advices for that. Remember what I said, Hamza, in terms of finding the right coach or the right mentor. If you think the joke is not funny, find someone in your club or your area or your like division who is known to be funny, who you have seen giving speeches that are really funny, and then say, can you coach me on a speech that I have? And just tell the joke and say, okay, I have a problem with this joke. Every time I do it, it's not landing right. Can you show me how we can do it? And maybe just the way he changes his facial expression, that person can actually coach you into doing the joke in the right way.
Okay. Distinguished Pastor Mohammed Qatani, I have a question for you as from my side. You
Yes.
are an engineer who became a world champion. Which of the two identities did you have to fight harder to defend?
Can you say that again?
You are a Saudi engineer who became world champion. Which of these two identities did you fight harder to defend?
To defend?
Yes.
Well, I'm still both. When I'm at the office, I am a nerd with glasses who work with computers and servers. And outside, in fact, I've had, we had at my office, we had students who come from like universities for like internship, and they've been working with me, and I've been working with them for weeks or whatever. And toward the end, one of them said, you look like this guy that I've known who came to our school a long time ago, and he spoke, and I said, actually, that's me. He said, no, it's not you. You look like him, but it's not you. I said, no, actually, it's me. No, it's not you. But you cannot look like him. I said, dude, it's me. So I do have two different persona when I'm at office or when I'm outside.
Okay. So your next question is, what did the 10 years after 2015 cost you that nobody warned you about?
What did it cost me that nobody wanted?
Yes. Yes. After winning the world championship 10 years now.
See, I honestly count myself lucky. Alhamdulillah, to this day, every now and then I see my speech being shared online, which still shocks me because I see we don't see the greatest in like our own work. And every time I see that speech, I always ask myself, what do people see in it? Like I really don't see it, But I am glad and honored that it's still being shared to this day. I've made some mistakes in the past like 10 years. Because again, when fame comes and you don't know how to handle it, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and I've done things that I'm not proud of, but thankfully I have, inshallah, corrected myself and corrected my path. What I notice is that the people who are around you, they're only around you for a reason. Except, of course, the good ones who will always be there for you. But a lot of people have came and gone through my life, and all they wanted, whether attention or they wanted exposure or they wanted money or they wanted, and I always try to make everybody around me as happy as possible, but it breaks my heart when, you know, when you feel like you're being used, you know, when you look around and you cannot really know who, you know, who are the good friends, you know. I always ask myself if if I was in a car accident and I go to a hospital tomorrow, would somebody pick up the phone and call? Would somebody even know that I'm there? But the consolation that I have is that every now and then I get a message from somebody who I don't even know. And they would tell me something sweet like, I've seen one of your speeches and now I'm a better person, or I joined Toastmasters just because of you. You know what? People can use me all they want. What's going to be left is the legacy.
Amazing, amazing, and very thought-provoking as well. DTM Fateh has raised hand. Wants to say something?
Yes, I would like to say something. Talking about not using the wife, because it offends. Let me tell you one thing. I've used my wife several times, and guess what? The women are the ones who enjoy it, and they laugh and they like it. For example, because there is self-deprecation in it. For example, when I was a leader, my nickname was GRR. And now, after I got married, my nickname is MIAW. They look at me and say, yeah, GRR is grr, a lion. And MIAW is a meow. I'm a cat. I'm a pussycat at home. And
Yeah,
they laugh. They love it, the women.
No, yeah, but see, the joke is not about her. The joke is about you.
Yes.
And this is a great use of self-deprecation. What I meant by people who are making jokes, have you seen those speakers who always make jokes about how annoying their wives are, for example, or how, not good looking they are or whatever. And again, the joke might be funny for some, but you're offending other people in the audience. What you did is a very good example of self-deprecation. She's not the butt of the joke, you are. And that is the safe way to actually write a joke.
Yes. I have two questions only left. And one is, what is the difference between a speech that wins a contest or a speech that changes someone? And can one speech be both?
Well, of course it can. See, when you're speaking just because you want to win, because you want to win a trophy, it is obvious. And oftentimes, I'm going to tell you're not going to win it. Because the only speech that will be left in the mind of the people are the one that's actually just going to make impacts. Take it from me, ladies and gentlemen. Take it from a guy who made it to the other side of the tunnel and who actually won. All of the other world champions, by the way, are good friends of mine now. We have our group chat on WhatsApp and we're chatting all the time. And let me tell you the truth. There is no glory behind it. There is no fame behind it. Yes, I was known in the first 1 or 2 years, 3 years, but then now if I walk down the streets, nobody recognizes me. There is no money behind it. A lot of the world champions are actually in debt. So if there's no glory behind it, and there is no fame behind it, and there is no money behind it, my question to you, dear speaker, why are you chasing that title? You're not going to be famous, you're not going to be rich, and you're not going to get the glory. You're not. In fact, the speakers who are the most famous and they get paid the big bucks, they're not even in Toastmasters. Another thing, a lot of people who booked me for speaking events, they don't even know I'm a world champion. They say, oh, no, we just saw one of your clips online, which means you're not going to get anything out of it. But what Toastmaster gives you, ladies and gentlemen, it gives you a chance. See, when you're speaking on your club, maybe 20 people would listen. When you're speaking in your area, maybe 50 would listen. In the division, maybe 100, 150 would listen. On your district, maybe 300 people would listen to you. If you ever make it to the world champion, at least 20,000 people would listen to you. The entire world is listening. And you have a chance to make an impact for this entire world to hear. Winning or losing, it could come later. In fact, one of the biggest things I regret is that by the rule books of Toastmasters, as a world champion, I'm not allowed to compete anymore. And every year, I see my fellow club members getting ready for the contest season, writing that speech, and I envy them. I'm like, oh, I want to do it again, but I can't. I'm done. But at least you still have that chance. Every time you compete, put in your mind, more and more people would listen to you. What is the one thing that you're going to leave the world with?
Yes, amazing. And that's, I think, the real power of communication, impactful. Only the last question is left, and that is, what message would you give to the members of District 17 who look up to you in their journey of Toastmasters?
I would say don't. I'm not a good example of a human being. In fact, the glory, and I've said that before, the glory should not go to the speaker on the stage. The glory should go to those who serve the district behind the closed doors. You know, those leaders or district directors and program quality directors or division directors and area directors who do all the work behind the scenes, and oftentimes they're not going to get a thank you. What the hell did I do? All I did was just give a 7-minute speech, 12 judges that they kind of thought it was the best one. That's all I did. I didn't do much. So if you're looking for example, the example is the person who's going out of their way to serve everybody around them. So look at those people as role models. Don't look at me.
Amazing. The DTM Qatani being humble and always so kind. Amazing. And this was a wonderful session. I have put the link for the survey of how you do. I have everybody like the, please everybody, I would encourage everyone to fill that survey. Meanwhile, thanks a lot once again to distinguished Toastmaster Mohammed Qatani. Amazing nuggets of wisdom. You answered so many questions, so many thought-provoking ideas came to us, and it is your whatever step you take is an inspiration for all of us that are thriving and going in our journey. And amazing experience for us. And thanks again for giving us time in your busy schedule. I know it was challenging for you, and you had a lot of, you are going to Egypt and here and either there, and still you got time and give us 1 hour of your time. It was amazing. And Toastmaster Gilbert, can we have the certificate for Toastmaster Mohammed, Distinguished Mohammed Qatani? This is our separate certificate of appreciation for your service and support to the District 79 initiative. And can we have now the group picture, if possible, for everybody? If those who like to have a turn on the cameras, we can have a video also. So before you leave, I want everybody to have a, I know we had almost like 110 audience members. Mashallah, it was great to have such a big number turning up in an online meeting especially, and we are still 71. So let's have a group picture. Turn on your cameras if possible for you all, and let's have. Toastmaster Gilbert, can we do it? Or Toastmaster Jeffrey can help also.
Will you remove the what do you call it? Focusing on the both of you. So
Okay, maybe yes. I think. Toastmaster Gilbert, can you unpin or maybe the what you remove the spotlight? I'm smiling still, trying to hold my breath. You know. DTM Kata, anonymous.
Yeah, anonymous judges.
Okay, I think Jeffrey, are you doing it? Jeffrey? Can you unmute? Hello.
DTM Omar, you're still highlighted.
Okay, 1 minute. I have to remove my highlighter. 1 minute.
Are we done?
Yes, almost 1 minute. Toastmaster Gilbert, can you remove the spotlight? Unspotlight. Yes. Okay, Toastmaster Jeffrey has taken some pictures. And 1 minute.
Nadim Nasr. Nadim Nasr.
Okay. Are we done? Toastmaster Gilbert, Jeffrey? Okay, I believe we have taken a lot of pictures now. So thanks everyone, and thanks once again each and everyone for being there. The everyone Cavaliers were there. Wonderful and amazing session. With this, I'd
you and
like
goodbye. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
goodbye everyone. Please don't forget to fill the survey, and it is very important so we can improve our next sessions as well.
Goodbye and thank you. Thank you, Champion Qatani, for your
Thank
presence
you.
and your very
Yeah,
good
that
insight.
became Nazir,
We
right?
learned a lot.
And
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, DTM
Thank you very
Qatani.
much.
It was a pleasure
Thank
once
you.
again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Bye bye.
Bye.
Good night, guys. Bye.
Gilbert
Good night. Take care. Bye bye. Hakuna Matata, everyone.
and